This is the first footage ever recorded of a giant squid in its natural habitat. It was captured from a submersible vehicle deep in the Pacific Ocean by a team of scientists and filmmakers from various institutions, including the National Science Museum of Japan and the Discovery Channel. The most extraordinary thing about this film is that it's only 10 years old. For me, this footage highlights just how little we know and understand about the depths of our seas. Contrary to popular expression, space is not the final frontier, because to date, only around 5% of the world's oceans have been accounted for. It is perhaps unsurprising then, that for as long as humans have had a relationship with the sea, be it for food or transportation, there have been unsettling tales told about encounters with creatures from the deep. In August of 2010, researchers from the Japan Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology captured the following footage from the depths of Sagami Bay. The subject in this video has never been identified. Some have speculated that if it is indeed an animal, then it's dead due to the lack of movement. Other theories have suggested that this footage captures a Ningen, a cryptid of Japanese origin supposedly inhabiting the icy waters around the Antarctic. According to eyewitness accounts from crew members aboard fishing vessels, Ningen are about 20 to 30 meters in length and white in colour. They have strangely humanoid characteristics such as legs, arms, and even 5-fingered hands. I don't think that this footage particularly resembles the description of the Ningen, and many other viewers have suggested that it's simply a rock with 2 limpets stuck to it in a convenient place. Is this really just another case of pareidolia then? Or is it something else? Let me know your thoughts. As I mentioned earlier, accounts of unknown sea creatures date back many centuries. When the Dutch zoologist Antoon Cornelius Oudemans started collecting sightings of the Norwegian sea serpent called the sea orm, he discovered that between the first sightings around 1555 and his research in 1892, there were more than 300. It was first recorded by the priest and epic mapmaker Olaus Magnus in 1539, and is even featured on his Carta Marina, wrapping itself around a whole ship. Just over a century later, in 1658, the monster was mentioned again in another book. The quote is as follows: "They who in the works of navigation, or on the coasts of Norway, do all agree in this strange story, that there is a serpent there which is of vast magnitude, namely 200 foot long, and more, over 20 feet thick, and is wont to live in rocks and caves toward the sea coast about Bergen." The Bishop of Bergen even weighed in on the phenomenon himself, stating that there was full and sufficient evidence from credible and experienced fishermen. Well into the 19th century, sailors continued to spot the serpent rising out of the water, throwing its mane back and spitting water. Sightings dwindled out by the early 20th century, and it seems that the true identity of the Norwegian sea orm is lost to history. But surely over 300 sailors couldn't have been mistaken, could they? Given their inhabitants' close proximity to the water's edge, it's logical that many sea monster sightings come from small island communities. In the early 20th century, there were a series of mysterious sightings off the Orkney Islands in northern Scotland. One witness, Henry Stout of Leaguer, Outertown on Stromness, visited the offices of the Orkney newspaper on Tuesday, August 20th, 1936. This is his story. At about 2 p.m. on Thursday, August 13th, my son Henry, who is 30 years of age, and I were working in a hayfield overlooking the sea. The weather was bright and clear, and the sea was calm. Our attention became drawn to something that was happening less than a mile from the shore. Gradually, we made out an object of considerable size. The fastest motorboat in Stromness could not have kept up with the object while it was speeding straight ahead. While we watched, the object began to operate nearer the shore. 4 sail-like fins became visible. The foremost of the 4, I judged, was about 5 feet high and 4 feet long at the surface of the sea. The other fins, each smaller than the other, were situated at intervals of 10 feet. We watched for half an hour and a few minutes, during which I hastened to Breckness for a spyglass. We finally saw it dive beneath the surface altogether. For several days, we spoke of this to no one. I hesitate to suggest that the object we saw may be a deep-sea monster, but I'm curious to know if anyone else happened to see what we saw. I am definite that the 4 fin-like objects were members of one unit. In that event, what we watched was something measuring at least 40 feet in length. I am sorry we got no glimpse of a head of any kind. I have lived at Leaguer, Outertown, for 40 years, and am familiar with all the aspects of the sea in that area. I formerly engaged in cod fishing, and am well acquainted with the habits of basking sharks, porpoises, flights of birds and whales. The object we watched was none of these. One of the most famous deep ocean encounters with a large, unknown species is the account of the Deepstar 4000 fish. It was allegedly sighted in 1966 by the crew of the Deepstar submersible, 4,000 feet beneath the waves. The fish was seen by pilot Joe Thompson and marine biologist Jean Lafond. Thompson happened to look through the window and found himself staring into the eye of a giant fish which swam briefly into view. It moved past quickly, bringing up silt from the seabed before disappearing. He described the fish to be around 8 to 12 meters in length, with eyes the size of dinner plates, huge pectoral fins, and a tail similar to illustrations he'd seen of a coelacanths. Although the crew of the Deepstar didn't capture a picture of the colossal fish, underwater cameras operated by oceanographer John D. Isaacs did photograph a Pacific sleeper shark in the same area just a short time later. It was ichthyologist Carl Hubbs who suggested that the Deepstar 4000 fish could have been an unusually large sleeper shark. However, most adult sleeper sharks average only 3 to 4 meters in length, and neither Thompson nor Lafond accepted the sleeper shark as what they had witnessed. Specifically, the dinner plate eyes described by Thompson are contradictory to the relatively small pupils of Pacific sleepers. If what the crew of the Deepstar 4000 witnessed was indeed a bony fish rather than a shark, then it is likely an undiscovered species, and would be the largest and heaviest ever on record. The world's oceans are a vast, untamed frontier of untapped mystery and potential. The accounts I've shared in this video offered fragmented glimpses into alien worlds we are only just beginning to understand. I hope that future generations will not neglect our magnificent oceans, because their deepest, darkest waters may house life forms beyond our comprehension. The truth of what lies on our seabeds truly is stranger than fiction. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.